Yeah. So first of all, what is ROI? So ROI is a basically we are calling in terms of return on investment. So RPA is a valuable tool known for its ability to innovate, boost productivity, cut cost, improve the customer experience, and many more things we are doing with this. So when we talk about the ROI components, it's always required to calculate on our investment. So if organization is investing on something, they have to get some input out of it. Sorry, some output out of it. Based on that, they will figure it out how they have reached to the success or to the goal level. But beyond offering these attractive benefits, RPA also has a high potentials for significant fast ROI if you play your cards right. So it means you have to first analyze on that if your automation space or RPA is starting in the beginning of the piece, you have to decide which is the feasible solution for you. Point of getting your cards right, it means when we are selecting the RPA, is it totally going to be automated or we are doing the partial components? If we are doing the partial components, are we saving out of it or we are just doing for sake of mind? So by using all of the calculations, we can reach to the point, yes, we are getting an actual benefit out of it. The Institute of RPA estimates that RPA solutions can deliver an immediate savings for 25 to 40%. And these are not the random calculations. These was provided by the McKinsey Digital Space, where they have provided automating business process with RPA can result in an ROI between 30 and 200% in the first year. When it will move to the next year, definitely that percentage will be going to be increased. But first year in between 30% to 200% for the first year, because here we are investing a lot in terms of space, in terms of technology, in terms of tool, in terms of resources. Calculating all of this, they have reached to the positions to see that 30 to 200%. It is important to remember that there's more than one way to look at how RPA benefits a business. There's the financial benefits, of course, but there are also more intangible benefits such as employee morale, avoiding repetitive tasks, employee or vendor relationship management, as well as how we are saving efforts as well as time of the resources. In order to get a complete picture of ROI of RPA, we must look at the financial costs, potential benefits, and how to factor in the human part of the equations. So when we are calculating ROI, there are 5 pillars. First is efficiency. Is our RPA or the solution which we have built is efficient enough to provide a solution to the vendor or the customer so that they can reach or achieve their estimated goals when they thought to start the RP in their organization. Cost avoidance, there are several costs included with the RPA, just like the system cost, then the environment cost. There might be some of the organizations are acquiring 2 to 3 environments, like one for the development, second for the QA, third for the UAT, and finally pre-production and productions. The multiple environments are required. So for using these environments, definitely they will need some server related in detail. They will definitely need systems as well as resource. So cost avoidance is a very important role. So when we talk about the RP, it is never going to be possible to calculate ROI in 1 year. You can calculate, but if you are looking for the long-term journey, it's always suggested to calculate for more than 3 to 4 years or in between 3 to 5 years to achieve maximum ROI about your solutions. If any organization is calculating within the first year or second year, definitely they will think more on the investment point of view. They will not get desired output in terms of saving. So first cost will be definitely higher on the first and second year, but when we have invested at one time, the investment cost is for system is definitely one time. Second, when we talk about the licensing, the product licensing, as well as tool licensing, these all are recurring costs. In terms of resources, that is totally dependent on geographical location. So if the developer is from the ASEAN region, definitely the cost will be on the lower side. But when we compare same developer from the European region or US region or several other regions, the cost will definitely increase in terms of resource. So because of that, I highlighted the developer cost based on geographical locations. Audit and SOX is also required when we are providing the solutions to any financial institute or the some of the banking institutes. They're always looking to do the compliance audit, the infosec audit, or several other internal audits are also there. These are properly tracked in terms of not leak any privacy related data or does not leak any customer related information in the production or with third party user. Risk avoidance, how many risks we have, these risks will be calculated in when we are moving into the majorly into the production. In some of the time we have find it out the uncertain things will happen in production. So avoiding that risk, and if that risk occur in production, how we are tackling is the major concern of the organizations. So let's say we have provided any solution to collect the customer informations like the name, identity informations like ID card or their salaries or some transactional related informations. So, and but these data will be calculated from 3 different systems. It might happen that one system is down, we are not able to get all of the data from there. Avoiding that risk and handling and the production level is very much concern of the organizations. Fifth is accuracy. How much accurate our solution is, how accurate we are getting the result from there. So this is the fifth pillar of calculating ROI. Without these 5 pillars, we cannot see that ROI is successfully calculated. These were majorly required by every person who is doing the calculation, like RPA calculations, ROI calculations. Moving to the next. So why ROI matters? So when we talk about the it's ROI, return on investment, the project expected return in percentage terms. ROI is a critical tool for measuring the impact of our RP investment with real data, with an understanding of our RP initiatives. ROI, we can because justify the initial investment to business leader with data-driven evidence. So we cannot say that the non-real count. So let's say if we are calculating ROI, we have to provide the accurate information to the business team or the business leader so that they can reach to the positions about decisioning. Are they really getting benefited out of it, or the solutions which they are getting from the vendor or from the RPA team is not well enough to give them benefit out of it. So for that point of view, they have to, or they need the accurate data of the resource system, how much time it took for the development to move to the production environment, which all resources are working, is it full time or on the shared basis resources. These all will be calculated. So in further part of the session, definitely I will cover in Excel sheets how we can calculate it. Over there, you will get clear idea about what accurate information we have to provide while calculating ROI. So make strategic decision about the technology during planning is very much important part. Whoever is the initiator of the project of the RPA, they have to make real life scenario or decisioning about the planning. So let's say they have planned for 5 bot to move into the productions, and they only have the 2 developer, which is on the higher risk. It doesn't mean that 2 developers cannot build it, but totally depending on the application to application and solutions which they are looking for. That's the reason they have to stick to the accurate information or in the logical information which they are calculating. So planning is the major and important part. Plan and build support for subsequent investments like expanding your RPA solutions. Improve and scale your RPA solution more effectively for better result. So let's say in first year, the development team has uh, given any loopholes in the solutions. So when they are building the same type of solution in the next year, so definitely they have to improve their skill. Whatever they have lagged in the first year or the second year, they have to improve in the further part of the coding so that they can get more effective and better result out of it. Feel confident that our solution is performing at its highest potentials and delivering optimal value to our company, which is very much important. Confidence is also required to the developers. Let's say developer is having 4 or 5 years of experience and they are building the RP solutions, and he or she is not confident enough to make this bot into the production. So that confidence level about the coding structure, about the handling of errors should be present in the every RPA, because RPA software is tailored to each individual business that uses it. There isn't a one size fits all answers to how much the software will cost. It should be noted that RPA is relatively inexpensive compared to some other software as a service, that is SaaS programs. But if any organization is calculating within 1 year, 2 years, definitely they will get the more expenses at compared. But down the line, if we are comparing for the more than 4 or 5 years, in the ROI point of view, definitely they will save lot of finances, lot of time, because RPA software is designed to focus on the type of task we looked at earlier. It integrates fairly easily into existing architectures. Now, let's understand the complexity assessment, where I've created here 3 workflow. First workflow contains a monthly basis, 21 to 40 days of time. Let's say I'm having, 21 to 40 hours of time. Let's say I'm having personal quantity people like 4 to 6 departments. We need to interact as 1 to 2. Focus on this first one. Technology landscape is 3 to 4. Information silos, which is required in between 10 to 15. Process steps are 150. But when we are calculating in terms of data size like record or row, there should be 1,000. Business logic in terms of complexity is medium. So medium we are calculating in between 3 to 5. But if you are moving in the high level, definitely that would be decided based on our solution. If the space is taking more than 5 days, definitely that will move into the high complexity. Deployment complexity is definitely going to be high here, because at the time of deployment, there might be required to interact with the multiple systems in terms of security, in terms of compliance, in terms of all related things. Standardized complexity will be medium. Estimated deployment of effort will be 4 weeks, which is estimated standardization effort in 2 weeks. When we talk about the workflow 2, there will be a 5 to 10, and person quantity or the people of the development is in between 1 or 2. Departments here again same in between 1 and 2, and the you can see at the end here we are saving in terms of time, because this is the less time consuming because of the process. This is having only 500 data size. Business logic is just high, but when we call about the deployment, which is taking a lot more time when we are doing the deployment, if we don't have the ICD pipeline. So the deployment will be done on manual basis. Standardized complexity is low. That is again a second reason for consumptions of time. So this is a complexity matrix which we can divide based on these many factors. So you can calculate based on the people, how many resources you have, how many departments or the team department where from where you can get the data, from where you can interact with that. Interaction is very much important part. So let's say if we have more than two departments where we have to get the details for the development, definitely that will consume you more time, and that will be considered on the high complexity. Technology landscape, if we have multiple technologies to be interacted, more than five will be considered as again, sorry, more than three will be considered as again a high complexity. Informations which is hidden, which we don't know. Sometimes we have estimated something and we have found at the real development, we have found like this will consume more time. So that will again a burden or the headache for the developer. So estimations well needs to be captured each and everything, ups and downs. When we are doing the estimations of any RPA project, that needs to be added minimum 30% of additional timing, considering all positive as well as negative. Might be for few days we are not getting the access. Might be for if we are interacting with the 10 teams, might be we are not getting the data on the time. Might be our technology team is not well equipped to provide the access of multiple technologies, which is highlighted in the fourth point. So because of that, it's always covered in the when we talk about the very high complexity level, we have to consult with the experts like estimation of the effort, which is more than 2 weeks. Now, let's check one Excel where you can see here, this is a template, simple template, which I've created it. But you can, there's the different formats. You can create it totally depending on your project to project level and organizations, as well as what all functionality you are covering. So first thing is number of business process that RPA bot will automate. So let's say you have only two processes which needs to be automated, and you are creating a two bots for it. How many full-time equivalent resources, FTEs, full-time equivalent resources currently work on the same task, which is if I'm calculating full-time equivalent resources, it means that person should log in minimum 8 hours. So this is not at actual calculations. I've already covered this point in my Agile technologies. So this is not at all actual development time. When we are calculating this, we have to consider several other factors, like that developer is involving in any meetings, any discussions, which is taking their time more than 15 minutes in a day, then that should also track here. So let's say if that person is working login for the 8 hours and regularly he is attending DSC call of 15 minutes, and there is some more discussions all ongoing on the parallelly, like that person is attending on the planning sessions, or that person is attending on the some defect resolutions call, and he is taking more than 30 minutes. So let's say I'm considering only 45 minutes total here he's spending on his time, and again minus 1 hour for his break, lunch break. Let's consider this. Then here you are losing 2 hours. It means you have total 6 actual hours will be calculated. So based on that, you have to provide your calculation. So let's say if you have 4 resources, full-time equivalent resources are working, and you have only 6 actual hours, it means it should be multiplied with the 4, and on the daily basis, you have 24 hours. So this is how calculation will be done, uh, which is on the accurate. Second points, we will also have, let's say uh, you have 4 developer, but one developer is on shared basis, and you are getting that developer only for the 4 hours. So actually, that will be calculated not more than 3.5 hours actual working hours for that resource, because he or she definitely involved in some discussions regarding allocation of work, regarding fixing of sub or regarding some support of the work. So you can consider daily 3.5 hours only when we are doing estimations. So total we have 4 FTE. Then what all percentage of FTE daily time spent on this task? So here you have to provide totally what I've calculation shown here. So you have to provide this detail based on the calculation which I have explained here. So let's say we have only 40% of the time that a person is spending, that 4% is spending to build this 2 bots. Then the calculation of the ROI and average fully loaded salary of the FTE performance. This is again totally dependent on the salary to salary bucket of the developer. Might be you have 2 senior developer and 2 senior developer and 2 junior developer. So we cannot say that both salary will be same. We can even not say that 2 senior developers are having on the same salary range. So based on the salary scale, you have to calculate it from here, multiply on the 40% of the time. When we talk about the estimated cost per bot at the time of implementation or at the time of planning, you will find it out lesser amount, because uh, you have not considered all of the things. So estimated maintenance time is, you have to calculate. Let's say you have built the solution and it moved into the testing phases, and in the testing phases, testing team has found some defects. Then you have to estimate your maintenance time as well, because you are giving the solution or fixing that defect once it will be raised by the testing team. This is the one point. Second point might be you will need to do some changes regarding production activity. Might be in pen test, InfoSec or a compliance team has rejected your solutions due to silly text message. So you have to consider that into the maintenance phase. So that will again cost you some amount. It's totally up to you and up to your resource salary. You can calculate it or budget it here. So these are the 3 important factors when we are calculating in terms of amount. And if you are not calculating accurately, you will not get annual occurred ROI of your system positively. So again, in the first year, as I said, since beginning, I am saying whenever we are calculating ROI, calculate on the longer durations. For the shorter durations, you will definitely get majorly on the cost. You will get less percentage of ROI in first year, but when we will move to the second year, third year, fourth year, going forward, we will get more or the higher percentage of ROI, because your investment will be remain same. You have to just invest in the salary of the resources, and concluding 10% of the inflation rate, like raising the salary, you can conclude it. But when we talk about the system, when we talk about the server related requirement, when we talk about the space related requirement, we are saving a lot. So that's the reason your ROI will increase depending on year to year, right? So here the current cost of the FTE for the first year is 80,000. Let's consider for the 80,000 dollar. And second year, well, again, here you have to add some additional cost in the inflation rate or the salary raise of the employee. Maybe this first year you have 80,000, second year you might have 90 to 95,000, third year again 10% you can add it. So something like that. Hours per week of FT here they have calculated for the 40%. Because of that, you can add according to your hours. So 40% of this resources they have calculated it for the 4 into 8, 64. Then total for the total amount here it's calculated 64, but this is not actual time. But when we do the estimation, it's always the 8-hour basis. But always keep in mind, calculate the estimations based on your actual hours. Otherwise, your cost will increase, or you will get the difference between your estimated cost and the actual cost. Perfect. So every week they are working for the 64, 64, and 64. Cost per week for the FTE, let's say it's 1538, and the total annual cost of 1 year and second year plus maintenance, that is 60,000. So here net ROI is calculated for the 20,000, and annual occurred ROI 33.33%. In the second year, you will realize it is increasing 128.57. It means 5 times, more than 5 times, right? No, sorry, more than 4 times. Yeah. Third year, you will realize as compared to the first year, it's increasing more than 6 to 7 times. Again, so after in certain durations, you will definitely find out the cost of your asset will might increase, but the ROI percentage will remain increasing. So let's say in 6th year, you have to invest again for your system cost, for your server cost. So definitely that cost, that ROI will decrease, but here you will definitely get more than first year. So this is how we are calculating ROI in template basis. There are several formats are available. Even you will find it out some of the applications online where you can calculate. You just have to provide some details, and based on that, you can automatically calculate it. Perfect. So let's again jump into PPT. Now, what will be the benefit of ROI? First benefit is cost saving. When we talk about the cost saving, definitely this is saving our cost. When we are doing the manual effort as compared to the automation. So we are saving somewhere. That's the reason here. We are removing repetitive tasks. That's the reason we are saving in terms of cost as well as time, both. Quality and accurate work. So human being is having a desired nature, like we cannot say that we are getting consistent effort or the quality content from manual person. But when we are training our bot or the robot in AI and ML model, definitely we will get the accuracy of the content. And when we talk about the human mindset, they will work for the one resource will work for the 8 or maximum 10, or sometimes if it is required for production activity, they or she will work for the 12 hours. But what if we need these type of dedications on regular basis? So none of the people will work for the, when you are paying for the 8 hours of the salary, they will not work for the 12 hours, right? So for that point of time, robot is helping to decrease the cost as well. So investment point of view, first time it will be more expensive, but when we talk about the longer durations, this will minimize our cost, right? Quality content and accuracy will also matter when we assign these type of activity to our bot. Automated response and triggers, human being cannot be available 24/7, but a bot can do it, right? So when we automate something, we can directly generate automated response and triggers so that user can get notified if any failure occurs. If the solutions completed or successfully completed. So these type of automated response is always needed to the business team so that they can get updated about the solution. If the solution is perfectly working fine or not, they are looking forward to know it. So by using a bot system, we can get the response and automate. Let's say we have built the bot for the BPO industry. So BPO industry is also looking to know about regular call stat, regular audit meeting, and these all responses will be required. Sometimes they are getting escalation queries. So these queries should be auto responded, right? They are also creating a chatbot system where user can get the response by bot system. Then ROI analysis is also required. Insight and analytics will help us to understand how better we can make our products ready, how to improve our products for the customer satisfactions. So these are the some points that where we can talk. Then improve communications. In bot system, we can see that we can configure it the multiple languages also. But when we talk about the manual resources, we cannot everyone cannot know the different languages. So this is how we can talk. Time saving is again important factor and avoid repetitive tasks. When we talk about the repetitive tasks, say you have a full-time employee that needs to take 2 hours out of each workday to perform the type of task that RPA addresses. Over the course of a week, they are putting 10 hours into these repetitive tasks. So that's 40 hours a month and more than 400 hours a year by automating those functions. Your team members now has 100 hours dedicated to higher priority tasks. So avoiding this, RPA works by creating robots or bots that can quickly learn, mimic, and in the end execute the entire process based on the process rule which we have set up in a bot system and perform repetitive tasks. Bots that perform robotic process automation tasks are significantly less prone to the types of mistakes humans make. Human can lose focus while entering data and enter value into the wrong cell, throwing off every cell that follows. It's not always we can say that they will make a mistake, but possibility is high. That doesn't happen with the bots in the rare cases that an error occurs. RPA program searchability makes it much easier to find that error. It can take hours poring over a spreadsheet to figure out where a human entered the incorrect value and threw every calculation off with RPA. That search can be accomplished in minutes or less. This is all boils down to that if time is money, then RPA provides massive ROI by reducing the time it takes to perform necessary but repetitive tasks and assures the quality of those tasks. RPA also allows employee to focus on their core job functions instead of taking huge chunks of their days and weeks to perform repetitive tasks. Right? Now, moving down to the best practices of the RPA. So before moving to this, we have one more point like better time management. When we are assign a work to the bot, we are somewhere managing our time. Like those time saves also generate benefits of your team that are less tangible. Many surveys and workplaces studies have shown that when employees can focus on their actual work, core function without getting bogged down into the kinds of tasks that RPA would automate, that satisfaction with the jobs goes up. And that type of organization is becoming the top 10 places or top 20 places to work over there. Higher employee satisfactions means lower turnover, which takes an intangible benefits and turn into something concrete, because more satisfaction means less employee turnover. Now, moving down to the best practices of the RPA, documentation is a very important part when we are initiating the RPA journey. It's always recommended to create documents from the initial level. It might be related to the requirement document, might be related to some PDD document, SDD, DDD. On every phases, you can create the documents which you can refer it for the future. It's not always possible that employee will stay forever with same organization. So if that person is moving, if that document will be available, that will get benefited to the other person who is replacing to the current employee. So this is the important part. Planning is again a very important part when we are doing or initiating the RPA projects. Well planning will gives you a better result. Planning in terms of estimation, planning in terms of analysis, planning in terms of development. Then build in error handling, which is a very important part. Error like field login, non-existence directories, or no more desk space can bring an automations to a standstill. Exceptions like a timed out application, bad data, or a new screen within the application also can stall an automation. This is why workflow should contain error handling. Depending on what type of exceptions occur, whether it is business or application exceptions, a developer should code the automation to handle the exceptions and react accordingly. For example, if a business exceptions occur on a queue item number 2, the RPA bot should log the exceptions and prepare the environment to process queue item number 3. The bot should recover from exceptions and continue processing all these transactions. If an unexpected error occurs, the robot should notify a human operator via email and include a screenshots of the error message. When the error occurred, important arguments, values, and the sources of the error will be handled. So in this flow, we can get a proper log message as well as screenshot so that we can analyze it. Now, next, increase workflow readability. Data comes into two forms, arguments and variables. Arguments are used to pass data from one workflow component to another and can be accessed through throughput, the workflow file. Variables can be used only inside a single workflow file and should be kept in the innermost scope of lesson clutter. To accurately define workflow files, activities, arguments, and variables give the workflow files meaningful names. When we are using meaningful names, we can call it at any point without forgetting anything. We are calling on the proper time zone. And when we use comments and annotations to describe in more details what is going on in every sections, this will help you to save your time when you are doing debugging, when you are finding any issues, such as what arguments are being passed in and out of the invoke components. To avoid confusions, add comments only to describe sections of the code that are not intuitive. Avoid hard coding is the important part. Don't hard code any of the password in between your workflow, which might give the chance to intruder to get into your workflow. This might give the chance to leak your data. So hard coding should be avoided. Testing is not only unit and integrations, it is always required to test everything, whatever you have implemented or whatever you have created. This will include like QA and UAT phases. So whenever we are testing, that should be tested thoroughly in each and every components. When we talk about the create configurable files and avoid hard coding, automation should allow process owners to make changes to automation variables without developer interventions. By putting change prompt settings inside a configured file, the developer gives the process owner the flexibility to change these values at desired. A developer should always avoid hard coding external settings such as file path, URLs, document names, logins, and email receipts. So reusability, whenever we are building any solutions, you should not take care, is that component reusable or not? If that is component is reusable, use it as many times you will need. This will save your time at the time of building your solutions, at the time of building your bot solutions. So this is all about RPA. So handing over to Niklesh. Are you there, Niklesh?
Hello. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for the wonderful session, Deepak. I mean, you covered most of the important concept in this time. So I hope if we got at least the derivations and the calculations, how we need to do, what is the proportions and all. Thank you so much for that. So let me quickly share my screen and